everyone, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel, and today's topic is on what took me so long to make a video, which is job applications and interviews. So I applied to 3 places. First place was like a we don't know if we're hiring sort of thing, so that's fine. Second place, it took them like almost a month to get back to me to tell me if I had a job or not. And it's not a very like high-end place, it's not very professional or whatever, it's a very laid-back sort of thing, but it still took them almost that long to tell me if I had a job or not. And it was very frustrating because I ended up being told that they simply didn't want me because I didn't have the job experience. Before I go on to all my personal experiences, I want to tell you about applications and interviews themselves. So, with applications, of course, they will ask you for your personal information, and then sometimes they'll ask you what hours you want to work, what you want to be paid, and your availability. So how many hours you want to work or can work. Then they will ask you for references, and I only have 1 reference, but usually they will ask for 3, so I was pretty scared about that. But just be honest, fill it out the way that, they ask, and don't lie, don't stretch the truth, quote unquote. Just be honest, because if you lie about your skills or you lie about your references, that's a huge deal, and they can check up on that, or it won't show in your work ethic. So yeah, that's that. That's pretty much it with applications, because it's mostly personal information and I can't really help you with that, but just be honest, don't put down a reference that isn't actually there, and a lot of the times people want to be asked before you put them down as a reference, so that's something you might want to remember, is to ask people like, hey, would you be a reference? Even if you work there, it's still nice to ask them. Then with interviews, you really just want to be yourself, be honest, be confident. So of course, be yourself, because at the end of the day, I'm not the one applying for the job, and I'm not the one they're going to be hiring. They will be hiring you. So that's also where honesty comes in, because you don't want to lie, you don't want to say that you have skills that you don't, and you don't want to be misleading, because then you get a job and you're not the person that you said you were, and that could be very stressful for you to try and pretend you have the qualities you don't, or they could just fire you because they're like, you weren't, so-and-so, or whatever you said. So yeah, that's not good. I like to try and be very confident with this sort of thing too, because confidence is just something that it makes you look good in all aspects of life, Most guys are like, oh, I really want a confident girl, where girls want a confident guy, and job interviewers want a confident employee, because confidence just looks good. It shows that you have some sort of maybe pride in yourself, and it also shows kind of like you know what you're doing, even if you don't. You just gotta kind of fake it till you make it. So this is my personal experiences here. But the first place, they had told me, not sure, that sort of thing. Second place, it took them 3 weeks. First, I had to make an account with their business, which I didn't like, to get the online application and to see any information about it. So I had to make an account, and then I had to reset my password once, and I reset it incorrectly, and then I wasn't allowed to reset it again because of a 24-hour password resetting limit, which was frustrating. So I did that though, and I got the application filled out, and then there was a 100 questionnaire sort of thing, questionnaire, and I was like kind of overwhelmed, and like this job wasn't very high-end, it wasn't very a big deal. Not to say it's not a nice job, but I'm just saying like it's not something that I would expect to have to answer 100 questions about myself. And not only was it 100 questions about myself, but a lot of them were kind of mind games, where it was like, do you think someone has falsely accused you of something? And I'm just like kind of trying to read between the lines, because I feel like they would look at that and be like, oh, she thinks that she's always right or something. So that was stressful. And so then I do all that, and then they're like, okay, well, get back to you at the end of the week for like an interview or something, which they didn't do. So then I go in the middle of the next week, and I asked them if they had gotten my application, because I was just kind of like, okay, there were a few options, did I fill out the correct thing or not? So they were like, yeah, and then they literally just took me back that same day and interviewed me. And that was stressful, but it was okay, I rolled with it. And in this place, it wasn't very high-end, so I was just in like a small, plain office, a very small, plain, generic office sort of thing. But they still seemed super hopeful to have me and everything. And then they that was it. And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you at the end of next week or whatever. And I was like, okay, you know, that's fine. So then that next week comes and goes, and nothing happens. So then I call them, and I'm like, oh, hey, you know, what's up? Did you hire someone or whatever? And they said, oh, no, we're waiting on the new manager to come in, and they'll be in next week, so then we'll let you know at the end of next week or whatever. Or it was this week or something like that. It was a long time. So I was like, okay. So the new manager comes in, and I finally get an interview. I finally get an email that said that they pretty much just wanted someone with more experience. And I had experience in that sort of thing, but it wasn't like actually hired experience. It was just something that I had happened to have as like a freelance job, because it was like so much time, like almost a month, that was dragged out, and then I just didn't get the job because I didn't have experience. So that was very frustrating. And then with this job, I went in there and I got the interview the same day that I filled out an application, and I filled out the application right there in the place, and that was like, whoa, because I was expecting it to be online or expecting to take it home and fill it out. They called that night, and I had an interview scheduled, and I did the interview, and I thought it went really well, you know, and that room was really pretty. It was like a wine cellar, and I was just like, whoa, and I was overwhelmed, but it went really well. And I, of course, had just gotten done with someone who took almost a month to get back to me, so I wasn't expecting the call anytime soon, and they, of course, had said, oh, we'll get back to you at the end of the week. So I wasn't expecting anything, and I was stressed out. So I go home, and I take a nap. And I'm taking the nap, and everything's fine, and I'm asleep, you know, whatever. And I get a phone call that wakes me up, and I look down at it, and I'm like, this isn't the number, because I saved the business's number in my phone thinking, oh, I'll know if they call me so that I'm not like, random number, and, you know, not gonna answer. So I answered it, though, just because I was like, you know, iffy. And it was the lady who had interviewed me, along with 4 other women. They didn't all call, but there was a lot of people in there, and I was overwhelmed. That's just the point I'm saying. Anyway, so it was her, and she, like, it was that day. It was like 2 hours later, and she was like, you're hired, pretty much. And I was just like, whoa, like, OMG. Like, really, though, it was super weird and different compared to the last experience, and I was super excited and super happy. But that's how that went, and I'm going to the orientation today. So, yeah, I hope that helped you out. Remember to just be honest, be confident, be yourself, and be prepared for rejection. That goes with job interviews, applications, and generally life. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever, you know. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a good day. Thank you.